Welcome to the Real Estate Investing Club. This is the place everyday real estate investors gather to share their best stories, biggest insights, and favorite tactics to grow a portfolio of cash-flowing properties in today's market. Here's your host, Gabe Peterson.
All right. We are back with another episode of the Real Estate Investing Club, October 11th. We are well into the fall, my favorite season of the year. So I'm stoked. Today we have Meir Waldman with us from Nexus Towers. This is going to be an interesting one, a unique one. Meir focuses on cell phone towers on your commercial properties, on your residential properties. Probably can't be residential, but Meir will let us know because he's the expert in this. So Meir, thank you very much for hopping on the show.
Hi, Gabe. Yep. Thanks for having me. Honor and a privilege.
All right.
Happy to get it.
Yeah, I told you right before we hopped on here, we like to start with stories. And I know, you have experience in real estate. Right now, you're 100% focused on cell phone towers, on working with people who have them on their property. So why don't you tell us first, how did you get into real estate in the beginning? And then how did you segue into cell phone towers?
Yeah. Thank you. So I started out in real estate, dabbled with some houses with residential, and then moved into buying warehouses, underwriting deals. And I always came across unique tenants, like in a parking lot of a warehouse, there were some trucks parked and there was a lease talking about a month-to-month lease for trucks. But then I came across occasionally a cell tower lease, started reading them, tried getting advice from people on understanding if this is financeable, how you underwrite it. There's a 30-day termination clause. What is the likelihood the tenant will terminate? What's the likelihood the tenant will extend their lease? And I realized that people didn't know the answers to it. So I zoomed into it and I decided, let's try to make this a focus. I saw that there's an opportunity to sell the lease. The banks were happy to sign NDAs. I could get into the weeds later on into the podcast, but I saw it's unique and I said, let's make this a focus. We're now doing this for more than 8 years. We're a team of 9 people. We're helping property owners across the country, and it's a bunch of fun. And the best part of it is the intriguing part, meaning I could talk to savvy attorneys, savvy investors, and I still have something to sell and explain to them, and they're listening, and they're like, wow, this is so much fun. I didn't even realize that these agreements have this value, and someone could focus on it and make something out of it.
Yeah, I mean, cell phone towers, that's even better than triple net because there's really nothing that can go wrong there. You just collect a check every single month and the cell phone company is the one that's sending it to you. So it's a very solid, solid company that you can rely on.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know much about it at all. So you're going to have to be the instructor here. Why don't we start at the beginning? First, what do cell phone companies, and tell us what companies out there are actually doing this? What do they look for when they are looking for properties to place their cell phone towers on?
Okay, so I'll make a disclaimer beforehand as well. I'll be humble enough to say that I only know what I know. So it's the leasing financial aspect of the wireless industry. Obviously, like every industry, there's all areas. And so I don't cover legal or engineering or anything outside of where my focus spot. And I go to these wireless shows and I network with a bunch of people in the industry. It's like we're talking 2 different languages. So I'll try to explain what I know, but here's the key motivator for the wireless network and what triggers a new lease to be signed and a new location to be erected on any one of your listeners' properties. So it's like, think about a Wi-Fi router in your home or office. You want people to be able to use the internet, and you'll put a Wi-Fi router in a certain location. If the space is larger and too many devices are taking and they're draining the capability, you'll put up a booster or something to try to expand your ability. So the network is similar. Verizon, T-Mobile, AT&T are the large 3 carriers with a major network nationwide, and they're working hard to try to keep their customers satisfied. And they're doing a bunch of things. They have a coverage map and they're following development. They want to see where's the population moving, where are they having dropped calls, where are they having people calling into their customer service asking to boot their number and take it over to another carrier. So those are different red flags that trigger their engineers to start focusing on that zip code, on that local area, and see what's happening there. Don't we have enough coverage? Oh, our competitor has even stronger 5G coverage, so we have to be smart about it. So they look at their existing infrastructure and they see what they could do in order to increase capacity. Maybe they'll upgrade an existing cell site, or maybe they'll have to deploy a new site because there's a brand new stadium, a shopping center, and a residential development with maybe 50,000 new users at peak hours. So that they'll be creative about it. I know certain locations have, let's say, next to stadiums, when there's big events, they'll boost it temporarily. They'll just come out for a day and add capacity to existing installation, just so they can handle the demand. Like you see, like real temporary stuff, you'll see it on a van or on a flatbed truck because it's there for a few hours for a temporary event. So it's a network, it's a virtual network. That's the last mile delivery between our devices and the network, and from there it gets real technical. It's a wired infrastructure. It's from the tower, it goes into some switch sites. From there, it travels with fiber into data centers, and they're all interconnected with physical cables. There's even a subsea cable, right? Many of them, fiber cables that run and they connect coast to coast. So the entire globe is all wired up from this wireless network. Every lucky property owner that's in the path of this build out should be compensated for the inconvenience of hosting the equipment on their property. Now, the interesting thing is that not every property owner is savvy enough, and not every property owner deserves the rent that they're asking for, meaning there's the fine line where you could land and request this amount of rent for this. So a guy in some rural area, if he wants to have $5,000 a month for that tower, he might be overestimating the value, and his neighbor might be willing to give the space for $1,200. So the tower company is not going to have a hard time there. They'll just go to the neighbor. In the middle of a city, gets a little bit more competitive. And there's all weird scenarios where people have development plans. They're looking to add a few floors to their building. The inconvenience of having the tenant remove their equipment and put it back post-construction could cost a couple $100,000 in some cases. So there's lots of things to take in mind. When you mentioned in the beginning about the triple net lease, it sounds cool, and they're credit tenants, which is awesome. But there's a few things to keep in mind. The lease agreements are long-term, so like 25, 30 years. So you're locking yourself into terms that you better negotiate them well and make sure they are indeed triple net. So you don't want to have any liabilities. You want them
you're saying that the leasing term for cell phone towers is 25, 30.
Yeah, typically.
Wow, that is a long, okay.
Yeah, it's going to be like a 5-year lease with auto renewals, another five, you know what I mean? So you're basically giving them the rights to be there for 30 years.
Right.
Yet they're going to reserve like a 30-day termination, so they could leave at any given time. So if their engineers determine that this site is
lopsided.
No longer, yep, exactly. And the reason is very simple. It's like when you'll move your Wi-Fi router from one location in your home to another in a heartbeat. If you're doing a podcast with your laptop and your other side, you want higher speed, just unplug the device and put it there. So it's the same thing. If someone's going to build next door to an old cell site and now they're blocked and two of their sectors aren't able to radiate, then they're not doing their job. They'll just approach the new developer and tell them, look, we have to go on the roof of your building. And they'll call the old guy and say, sorry, we no longer need your location. And you'll see the site being moved over. So they always have to have the 30-day out on every cell site. So if you have no liabilities, it's like a triple net lease, meaning utilities are separately metered. Any increase in property tax is separately billed or reimbursed. Let them have proper insurance. Let them not disturb any tenants. Reserve consent rights that you sign off so they don't make your property aesthetically look like a war zone or a military installation. You want it to still have that curb appeal. Lots of different things. And the interesting thing is some of the lenders realize that the 30-day termination is a real thing because they have enough experience seeing this on the rent roll, and they read the leases. If the underwriters are smart enough, they're going to discount that lease. Either they won't give any value for it, or they'll just give a small percent compared to what they give for a traditional tenant that would be occupying a retail or anything like that. Even though it's a credit tenant, they're still not comfortable with the 30-day termination.
So financing these things can be well, okay. So if let's just say I had a plot of land out on some tertiary market near a big major metro. It turns out that one of the companies wanted to put a cell phone tower there. Mm-hmm. If I went to that company and said you could do it for whatever X amount, I'm not the one that is liable, that has to do the construction. I don't have to pay for anything, correct? Like they build the tower, they do any site prep work, all that.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Some unique cases, like someone could sign a lease saying that he's going to maintain the access road. It could be a dirt road running out in California on a mountainside, and it could cost money to maintain that road. If the only user is the tenant from the cell tower, you might as well iron out a good lease. And if they're the only user, you might as well, have them take the liability on the maintenance, things like that. But for the most part, you shouldn't incur any cost. So let's say you'll have to do your own legal analysis. You want to hire an attorney. You should ask the tower company for a little, legal reimbursement for that inconvenience for the lease. If you're just a landowner and you might get the lease, because for all you know it, you might sign a lease. They'll have like an option lease agreement that only kicks in once they get zoning approval. They'll go in front of the zoning board with multiple options. They'll show the zoning board, look, we have 3 sites. One is on the municipal land. The other 2 are privately owned land. Some local jurisdictions will have ordinances that will read that a case must be made and to show the board why none of the government-owned properties don't meet the requirements for the wireless carrier to put up their pole. The reason is because, why not let the general public benefit from the financial rent? But if the engineers will show that, this is a hilltop and they could really do more, they could cover both sides of the valley, things like that, the board will approve that site. So
that's what I was going to ask next is, what is it? Is there anything that, like say you are an investor who's looking for land that you are hoping can get approved by these companies? Obviously not as your primary strategy, but as maybe an option that this could possibly be a benefit down the line. Is there anything about the land that would distinguish it from other pieces? And it sounds like elevation is one of them.
Elevation is definitely one. Demand is the other. So the problem is that no one knows where the next cell site will be approved and where it's going to be built. So for all practical purposes, if you want to know what's the key driver to selecting a site, it's population, demand, users, devices, streaming. So if you're near any busy, like even a highway, any metro, like a train station, anywhere, public transport, a stadium, or any type of open place where a lot of people gather, that's probably where the carriers have an interest in having a cell tower. You want to make sure there's no other towers in the area and the reception is bad. But I have people, overwhelming, reaching out to me, telling me that not only me, but everyone on our team, we have 35 properties. What can you do for me? Like, they're all available. You want to lease space on the roof and maybe connect me to the people that need to lease. So I could talk about that if you want to get into it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, before we do that, what can people expect in terms of rent? I know it'll vary if you're downtown New York versus, somewhere in South Dakota, but generally, what do you see for rent that they'll pay?
Yeah, so I'll say it should start somewhere around $1,200 a month.
Okay.
And it could go up anywhere into the $5,000 range. It could be even higher than that. But if I have to give it a healthy average, I would say somewhere between 1,800 and 3,500 is where the bulk of the leases are gonna be. Okay. Now, talking about rents, because the industry is like 30 years old, it started in the mid 90s, so we're getting to like 30 years of age. Some of the early leases were signed by companies that no longer exist. So let's say Nextel, Cricket,
Sprint,
Clearwire, Sprint. So all these companies, as they merge and consolidate, they inherit old cell sites. And those leases were written like with typewriters, and some of them have a 5% annual rent increase. So let's say they started at 2,000, 3,000. You compound, you come down to today, you're probably at 5, 6, 7,000. Yeah. So 7,000. At some point, the carriers make a conscious decision and saying, this is getting out of control. We have to bring this lease back into market. So what can we do to do it? What they do is they try to, I would say, bully, right? So they took some bullying tactics, and they'll do that by approaching a few owners with adjacent properties, alternative options. And then they'll go back to the original landlord and tell them, look, we have 3 alternatives in your area. It's either you agree to the going rate, the market rate should be around $2,800, and we're happy to do a $3,500 if you want to sign today. Otherwise, we're just going to have to pursue alternative sites. So that's what a lot of our landlords are dealing with today. and they don't know if they should give away a lot, give away a little, don't give away anything, try to hold strong and hold it out and see what happens. So that's talking about rental rates.
Perfect. And so, say I own a couple properties out in Texas. And I was like downtown Austin and downtown Dallas. And these are big cities, and I would expect to have perfect coverage everywhere. But a lot of times I would lose cell signal. And I have Verizon, which supposedly has the best coverage. So I know that there is opportunity out there to have more sites for anybody who owns multiple properties in an area. How can they figure out whether their property is of interest to these cell companies?
Right. It's a great question. Like I said earlier, Nexus can't help, meaning our company, Nexus Towers, we specialize in existing sites. So it's as if, think about the lottery. I like to use that analogy. So you have everyone wants to win a lottery, and then you have a small percent of the population that was lucky enough to ever win a ticket. So people that don't have cell towers are the ones that are looking, what do I have to do in order to win? Well, buy tickets and wait. So in this business, it's almost the same. What we advise people is to register directly with the carriers. So Verizon, T-Mobile, AT&T, we actually put the links on our website to make it even more convenient. So it's on nexustowers.com on the page. It's 4 links. You're basically in the portal directly, and you're filling out a form on Verizon's page, on T-Mobile, on AT&T. You're giving them your contact information. Some of them get into the weeds, and they'll take location, nearest intersection, what kind of power supply do you have there, what's the height of the structures, who's the good contact person. Sounds exciting, but all you're doing is you're buying a lottery ticket. You're in their portal now, and if their engineers are going to come up with this zip code, this Latin long is a location that they're lacking, in their portal, they're probably going to have a match, and they'll reach out to you directly. So if you put in the right contact information, you could expect that if there was interest in the area, you would probably know about it. And if you're not hearing anything from them because you don't get a receipt or anything that you've submitted your sites, then there's probably no need.
Before we continue on with today's guest, I want to tell you guys about a community I'm launching on School to help investors like yourself grow your own portfolio. In this community, you'll get access to all the docs I use, all the systems I've built, everything I've used to grow my own portfolio, as well as instructions and guidance on how to get out there and find great deals, how to finance those deals, and then how to manage them for great returns. Since we're just launching it, the price will be set at a measly $20 per month, and whatever price you join at is the price you'll have for life. We will be increasing the price as the group grows, so if you're at all interested in growing your portfolio along other investors, now is the time to join. I will put the link somewhere in the bio or on our podcast website at therealestateinvestingclub.com, so if you are interested, head on over there. With that said, let's get back to the podcast.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And your sound cut out just a second there at the very beginning, so people might have missed the website. That was nexustowers.com/consult.
Yes.
And looks like at the middle of the page there, you can find the links to Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, and Dish. Man, that list has really shrunk since cell towers first started. No more Sprint. There was a whole bunch of them that have dropped off of that. I didn't realize there was only 3 left. That's pretty crazy.
There's Singular, Optimum. What's the Metro PCS, Clearwire, Cricket. The list goes on and on. You had 8 carriers just a few years ago, and we're down to 3 major, and Dish is the 4th. They're not live yet, meaning their sites are up and running, but they're not there yet. I haven't seen a storefront selling service to the end users with Dish Wireless. But they're
they're still a company, aren't they? Or which one are they owned by?
T-Mobile.
T-Mobile, gotcha. Okay. Cool. Okay, so I mean, you guys specialize in the leasing and the financing of this. Is there anything specific about leasing, say for somebody who currently has a cell phone tower or is looking to get into it, that they should know?
Sure. So say you want to know, just making sure I understand your question correctly. If someone has an existing lease and you want to know if there's anything I want to share with them that they should be aware of?
Yep, exactly.
Okay. So the first thing is don't sign anything without consulting with someone that understands the business, because once you're signing it, you're basically going to live with those terms for a long time. So just know that. It doesn't hurt to have someone do. Actually, we serve we offer a free analysis, which is from a business perspective, telling them which terms they should try to tighten. But high level, I would say you want to make sure you're getting compensated correctly. The monthly rent should be good. Your monthly escalator, like the escalation, the annual or term, whatever it is, should also be in line. It shouldn't be something like CPI or 2% per term. You also want to make sure they have certain different provisions that are in favor for property owners. So that's the first thing. Signing new leases is a big deal. The other thing is how to deal with rent reduction requests or equipment addition requests. Those two things are very tricky. Property owners reach out to us all the time with a new set of drawings showing us, look, T-Mobile wants to add another sector with 3 antennas. They're telling us this is a 5G upgrade, but they're also adding a generator, and they're going to be swapping out all their cabinets, and they're telling us they have rights to do that as per the lease. So it's a good question. So we'll offer that free analysis as well. Look at the original agreement, look at the original drawings, match it with the new drawings, and see if they're right or wrong. In most cases, they're right, but still, if they're compensating extra, like $300 a month extra, we'll make an argument and show the property owner why the case should be made to the tenant, T-Mobile in this case, to tell them that they're adding double the amount of square footage. If they were paying $2,800 for the first 250 square feet, wouldn't it make sense to at least give them another $1,200 for this addition? And in most cases, property owners walk away with a more favorable lease. And this all boils down to the end game of a wireless lease. So if you're ready, I'll explain to you the strategic disposition of wireless assets.
Yeah.
Every property owner with an existing wireless lease has an opportunity to sell the lease to a third-party management company. Tower companies and private equity firms that are focused on managing cell sites are offering property owners, let me manage this lease. I'll pay you upfront cash and you'll do a rent redirection to me. So these companies are going to acquire the leases by doing a telecom easement, and they'll pay the property owner upfront cash, somewhere around the range of a 6 or 5 cap. And the property owner just conveys their rental stream, takes the money upfront. There's a few caveats. The first thing is the lender will have to sign an SNDA and give this company that paid the upfront lump sum first position on title. So if they had a lien on the entire property because they have a mortgage and all the rents are assigned to them, a subordination will satisfy this investor that advances the cash to the property owner for this lease. So if you're following so far, what I'm saying is that property owners with existing cell sites are always going to have the option to do a disposition, basically sell their cash flow for a lump sum cash upfront payment.
And that I just did the math real quick on the side here. So if you said average is between $1,800 and $3,500, so I picked $2,500 a month as the lease amount. A 5.5 cap, which is halfway between 5 and a 6, that's $545,000 that they'd give you, which is quite a bit.
Quite a bit. That's right. So really, it's right around where the market trades. There's always there's risk, there's reward, and the underwriting from all these buyers in the space. You get a couple of dozen companies that are reputable in the space buying these cell sites, and we deal with most of them. We try to partner up property owners with buyers that are capable in closing, meaning not only to have a handshake and LOI, but actually see it through the finish line. So we act as consultants in these transactions, similar to an insurance agency. So if you want to have a policy for a building and it has some environmental, some this, some that, and the other, you want to have a good, cheap insurance. So you'll take an agency that knows how to shop insurance, bring you a few quotes, and bring you highest and best, and the insurance agent's paid by the carrier. So we act as an intermediary in this space, as facilitating lump sum buyouts for wireless leases. Our relationship with property owners usually start off on consulting. So like we'll help them on the renewal, we'll help them on a rent reduction, and then ultimately we'll always want to keep them apprised. They should know the value of their lease. So whenever they get a rent reduction request, we'll interpret it like what you just did, calculation on the side, is that's always what we want to tell people. Look, your lease is worth $850,000 now. If you agree to this rent reduction, you're basically giving away $500,000. Your lease is going to be worth $300,000. And they're like, oh, no. When's the last time I gave someone $500,000? Could I sell it now, even though there's a pending rent reduction request? Well, the answer is depends. It really depends where you're at. If a tenant already notified you that they're exercising their termination, they did it in writing, according to the agreements, then when you sell it, and you'll have reps and warranties, you'll have to tell the buyer of the lease that as far as you know, best of your knowledge, the tenant's not terminating this lease. Well, if that's still true, then you can still sell it. But if it's already true that the tenant's already telling you that they're canceling the site, you probably don't want to get into a mess. So as long as the lease is where it's at, I've helped property owners sell portfolios of leases across their real estate holdings, in tens of millions of dollars in large packages scattered over cities. They're just realizing the lender doesn't have, meaning the lender has a lien over it, but the lender didn't really lend them money on the value. It's worth, let's say $12 million. So why let these assets be locked up in a loan when they could put the money to work and satisfy their investors, make some upfront payments to the bank, satisfy them, take care of the property taxes, take care of some open liens and crazy stuff, post-COVID, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So people are really taking a breather, realizing maybe the wireless piece is the good piece of the puzzle here to satisfy a bunch of problems. So it's becoming a popular transaction. People have started realizing it, but it only applies to those few lucky ones from population who already won the lottery. They have a lease.
Who have already won the lottery. So you lucky lottery winners, there's more coming for you. That's great. Right on, man. Well, hey, we it looks like we've ran down the clock, so it is time to jump into the quick question round. I do appreciate you coming on. I always love learning, new strategies, new things about real estate, and this is something that we really haven't talked quite a bit on here. So, do appreciate you coming and sharing. You ready for the quick question?
Go for it.
Let's do it. It starts with books or any form of education. I need 2 recommendations: one for general life wisdom, and then one for real estate specific.
Okay. So general life wisdom, I would say, is The Go-Giver. The Go-Giver is a powerful book. The concept is being a giver and giving for the sake of giving and empowering others and helping. So it drives a positive, it basically makes you surrounded with positivity. People start deferring to you. They listen to you. They become closer to you. So it's hard to understand before you do it, but once you're in it and you're in the giving mode, you start feeling the synergy that just people start feeling comfortable with you. It's a mindset shift. So if you've read the book,
I bought that book, but I never actually read it, but I do have it on my shelf. So one of these days I'm gonna have to pick it up.
Yeah, it's a small piece of a broader mindset, meaning that the Go-Giver is basically teaching people to be a go-giver, like not a taker, but a giver. But there's more to it. It's like a small snowball that could turn into an avalanche. So the mindset is a very healthy mindset. So that's a big book. Real estate specific books,
or business, or even cell tower related, if you got something.
Great question. I'd say the EOS books, like those, the traction book, could teach people a thing or two about doing effective business meetings, measuring teams, delegating effectively. I'd say that's one of the more impressive books that made a mark in my life. Not that I live religiously by the EOS model. I don't have that stringent process here at Nexus, but we definitely were inspired by that book, Traction.
Nice. All right, that's a good one. Moving on to the next question, and this is for your younger self. So let's go back to the Meir who was just starting out so long ago, doing his first flip or his first, buying his first single family. Go back to that guy, look him in the eye, give him one piece of advice moving forward.
Don't be so afraid. Just take steps. You don't have to know everything. You'll make mistakes. Take advice from others, but just do. Just don't think so much. Just keep on doing.
That is by far the best advice, and it's been echoed many times in this podcast. And it's something that I'd tell my younger self as well. Is just get out there and do stuff, man. Don't worry about it. Don't think too much. Just obviously think. Use your brain, but don't let thoughts stop your action. So.
I remember meeting a very successful investor in my early days, and I told him I came across a building and I looked at title and I saw that he owned it 10 years ago. I was like, wow, that's so interesting. He said, you know what? I don't even know anything about that building. I owned it for a few years, bought it, sold it, made some money, and that's it. So I told him, there's a lot of risk there. There's this, that, the other. I knew all the little nuances, environmental and the area, the neighbor, demographics. He's like, man, you're studying too much. Like, you don't even have to know all that stuff.
Yeah. That's the thing, especially when it comes to due diligence. I get so in the weeds, analyzing the properties that I'm looking at. And a lot of the times you're never going to find a perfect property, a perfect deal. You just got to pull the trigger. and hope that your underwriting, generally is correct. So love that piece of advice. I'm going to move us on to the next question, and this is about your business. The first three positions we hire form the foundation of our business. What were they for you, and would you do it differently if you did it again today?
Rephrase that question, just I didn't follow. Sorry.
So the first three positions you hire form the foundation of the way your business moving forward. So what were the first three positions you hired for in your business?
Okay. So I'd say a COO, right? To take care of operations. It's the biggest. What it does, you want to know what it does for a business?
No. But yeah, just
Okay.
what were the positions?
Yeah.
And the second part of it is, did you do it in the right order, or would you change the order up if you started your business again today?
Yeah. So I'm very happy in the order it all played out, because I had all the positions open and available, and I took them as God gifted me with the right people to build a team with. So I think everything's perfect. The order was fine. Not to say everything, obviously everything comes with its, you got to wait it out and have patience until everything works out. Invest in your people and try to build a successful team is what I would say to anyone listening to this. But find good people, good as in genuinely good people with positive attitudes, with a go-giver personality, and with just integrity. Whatever your core values are for your business, you want to find people that match those core values. So we have a few core values inspired by Traction, that book, but we live by it and we hire by it as well. So
yeah, values. I feel like having a value alignment is probably the most important thing when it comes to creating a team, because if you guys don't have the same values, then it's really difficult to see eye to eye and really, have respect for each other. So love to hear that. Next question is about the US. I know you don't currently involve yourself in the acquisition of properties, but back in the day when you were looking at the US and you were thinking about the properties to invest in, or if you could do it again today, what is the single city that you are most excited about investing in today, or most excited about working in today?
it's a great question. I would say when I started out, I was a little optimistic about Newark, New Jersey. Okay, it's an interesting answer, but I thought that the close proximity to Manhattan and putting it at a strategic location, and it was a very underdeveloped city at the time, very distressed, and there was lots of opportunities to pick up large, I should say, big boxes, like old office buildings with a lot of square footage, and it was a perfect redevelopment site. I met with the officials in the city hall, and everyone was on board. I had the mayor and anyone, you name them. They were ready to work with people and give them whatever they need, tax incentives and whatever, just to revitalize the city and make it happen. There's public transportation straight from the city, which takes just a few minutes to get into Newark. So that was my dream. I had some properties on the contract there and had some fun.
Nice. Did you end up doing deals there?
For short, like I was in and out. Like I did quick flips or contract referrals, real easy stuff.
Nice. I don't know anything about Newark. I know it's in that big hub out there, so I'm sure you did pretty well. And I'm going to move us on to the next question. And this is about your strengths. We are all gifted with gifts that we uniquely provide this world. So what is your Superman strength?
I should call it a detail-oriented, dedicated person that when I'm focused on something, I try to make it my life mission. So call it hyper-focus or call it whatever you call it, whatever my mission is. So Nexus Towers is my mission for the last few years, and you can't stop me.
Nice. That's what you need, especially in real estate. You need the ability to focus in and then just keep going forward, no matter what happens, no matter how many obstacles you run into. Just keep taking that next step. So it sounds like you got it in spades. That leads us to the last question. You've given us a lot to think about. I'm sure people want to reach out, learn more about Nexus Towers, learn more about just cell towers in general. So what is the best way for people to reach out, get in contact with you?
Okay. So nexustowers.com is the website. And my email address is my first name, Meir, MEIR, at nexustowers.com. So I should be responsive.
Perfect. And I will put that link in the show notes. So if y'all want to reach out to Meir, just click the little more in the description. It'll pull down that full description. In there, you can find his link. All right, man. That wraps it up. Thank you very much for hopping on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. Well, keep on doing what you're doing. You're doing great.
Thank you. For everybody who's here with us today, thank you guys for showing up. You are the reason we do this. So if you guys have any questions whatsoever, reach out to me, Gabe at therealestateinvestingclub.com. If you guys want to support the show, just give us a like, subscribe, share, all that jazz. Other than that, I hope you guys have a great week. Keep rocking real estate, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode. All right, before I officially sign off, I have a quick announcement to make. If you're interested in becoming a passive investor in one of my deals, my own company, Kaizen Properties, is looking for capital partners for our upcoming projects. We invest in what are known as recession-resistant assets, mainly self-storage facilities, mobile home and RV parks, and industrial properties. If you're interested in investing and would like to learn a little bit more about my company, our investing criteria, and some of the previous projects we've done, go to the Real Estate Investing Club podcast at therealestateinvestingclub.com and scroll all the way down to the bottom of the page. Click on the Invest With Us button. That'll pop up the investor form. Fill that out, and we will reach back out to you as soon as we can. Or if you prefer a little bit more of a personal touch, you can reach out to me at Gabe at therealestateinvestingclub.com. So really, that is it. Again, it was a pleasure hanging out with you guys during this episode, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.